welcome to the Queer God Squad. This is Tuesday, December 9th, 2025. I am Bishop Darrell Watkins, the senior minister of the Sunshine Cathedral. With me today are Bishop Robert Griffin, he's my husband, you know, Reverend Dr. Ann Atwell, and Reverend Kevin Tisdall. We are the Queer God Squad. Visit sunshinecathedral.org to learn more about us.
Queer God Squad was created by Hotspots Happening Out to support our mission to explore the value of faith in the LGBTQ community. There is no streaming TV show like this in the entire world.
In 2025, we are celebrating the 40th anniversary of Hotspots magazine, with Queer News Tonight sharing over 11,000 stories and 11 million views so far.
We are the largest nonprofit LGBTQ media organization in America, and we encourage you to support our mission to inform, entertain, and educate our community and allies.
This is the Sunshine Cathedral Perspective. Gay civil rights activist Bayard Rustin showed what LGBTQ people can achieve for our community. Bayard Rustin, who lived from 1912 to 1987, was an openly gay Quaker civil rights activist who was the chief organizer of the 1963 March on Washington. While primarily an activist and strategist, his life and writings embodied the Quaker testimony of equality. He notably linked the struggle for gay rights to the civil rights movement, stating in 1986, and I'm quoting him, "The question of social change should be framed with the most vulnerable group in mind, gay people," end quote. This civil rights hero and lifelong activist, Quaker, socialist, and out gay man combated racism and homophobia, and not just for himself, but for all LGBTQ and Black Americans, many of whom are LGBTQ. The courage, compassion, and wisdom of Bayard Rustin is needed today. If we followed his example, we might wind up changing the world. He certainly did his part to do so. I remember reading about how Rustin was an out gay man in the 1960s. And I also remember reading about and then seeing in some of the documentaries how some of Martin Luther King Jr.'s inner circle tried to ostracize him, and Dr. King would not hear of that. He accepted Rustin for who he was and the genius that he was. King wasn't giving up this great mind because people thought differently about him. And I think that because of him, so many of us are comfortable in our skin. I came out in the early 1970s, so I have to say that he was one of my role models when I came out, that I could still be the person that I was and know that there's a part of the world that understands that being quote unquote different from the rest of the folk doesn't make you bad. It could make you really great. That's from this left-handed gay boy.
I believe he did step away from King because of all the pressure King was getting. And I think he just made it sort of easier for him. And I think King was actually getting tired of fighting for him anyway. But so he did sort of step away and out of all that. And then when the great things happened, and I think maybe it was King himself who was like trying to like bring him back in to like, you should take a bow here with us, and he wouldn't do it. He's like, no, I did what needed to be done or whatever. So that not only did he do what he do at great risk, but then also was like willing to not even take a little bit of the credit because it was about the work, it was about the goal. That's a level of greatness you rarely see. He was also he had a tooth missing for most of his life, and that's where he had been beaten by police brutality, and so that was a nightstick to the face. So that's where that tooth had gone, and I guess there was damage why you just couldn't get a bridge or something. And then later in life, I guess they could figure out better dentistry or whatever. But he that was on the streets in the fight, in the nonviolent fight, which is why he could be hit in the face. He wasn't fighting back. The Southern, it was either Strom or who's the North Carolina senator?
Jesse Helms.
Jesse Helms.
Yeah.
It was either one or both that knew about his sexuality and really tried to use that against King. He's not only is he, King's this communist, troublemaker, blah, 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 but he even associates with known socialists and deviants and, all that sort of thing. So they tried to use him against King just for who he was. He was actually arrested once for public indecency or lewd behavior or whatever. He just was caught, I guess, in the park or in a car or something with the lover. And he was arrested and because it was, or maybe it was specifically for some sodomy law or what, but anyway, he had a record. And he was posthumously pardoned by President Obama, saying that was unfair. And so he, as of today, clear record for that. Because again, he was assaulted for who he was. He was arrested for who he was, and the civil rights movement was trying to be undermined by others because of who Bayard was. I love that his Quaker values informed a lot of what he did, and I love that he did not back down from being a socialist because he knew what socialism is. Socialism, you'll see the word social in there. You'll see the root of the word society in there. This idea that as a society, we don't leave anyone behind. We can still open our own businesses. We can still compete in the Olympics. We can still try to get the best ratings on our television shows. And no one should go hungry.
Yeah.
Imagine.
And no one should be unhoused. And everyone should have access to education. And if you have a bright mind, money shouldn't keep you from going to college. And it's about having a healthy society that's inclusive of everyone. Now, I know there's all kinds of, social communism and fascism and capitalism. There's all kinds of isms. And we've always associated with capitalism with democracy. That is a false equivalency. Yeah. In fact, often it gets in the way of democracy. But democratic socialism is just socialism that also respects democratic principles. We're still going to have elections, but those elections can't be the tyranny of the majority. We're going to make sure that whether you have whether you're in the majority or not, you're not discriminated against. They can't discriminate against housing and employment. And if you're hungry, we're going to make sure you're not hungry anymore. And so that's what socialism is. Another word for that is the kingdom of God.
Hey.
Or Christianity in its pure form. Where the apostles shared everything in common, each contributing what he had and taking what he needed. And so that's socialism. It's also the gospel. And that this Quaker, gay, civil rights activist was informed by not only his sexuality and not only his race and not only his spiritual tradition, but also by his socialistic philosophies. And that combination made him a hero. And so I hope, I won't have a tombstone because I don't believe in all that. So, but maybe you can chisel onto my urn that I was some of those things. That that at least by the end, I was able to demonstrate the way he did, how your philosophies and your spirituality and your values and your person should all work together to make somebody else's life better.
I think when I think about Rustin, I think he's one of those people that if there's such ever an opportunity where you sit down with somebody, he's on my list I want to sit down and talk to, just to be one of the ancestors. You listen to his stories and his struggles and what he went through and what he saw from up front. I mean, one of the documentaries I remember seeing of him and Martin Luther King is that they was having to get Bayard out of some place under the cover of darkness. It was either Mississippi or Alabama, and they, and he said the only way we can get you out of here is to put you in the trunk of a car. And I was like, I'm not going to no trunk. And he's like, this is the only way to get you out. And so they had to put him in the trunk of a car to get him to a place of safety. And I actually think about how many of us be willing to get in the trunk of a car back in those days where you didn't know if you're going to be going down a dirt road, run into the KKK or whomever, and that would be the last thing you ever remember. Like, I got in the trunk of a car. But from those moments to what he went on to do with Martin Luther King Jr. along the way, to being basically at the march, and then the King group getting invited to the White House. Yeah. And he's bowing out of it, so go ahead on and go. That's a lot of integrity, a lot of someone who has a great deal of passion for the cause and for the movement versus needing to glam onto the title or what it all meant. So yeah, he's one of those people I want to sit down and talk with one day. Just say, Byron, give me your take, and I want the juicy parts.
I so admire his work, and have since I learned of him. I did not know that he was a Quaker.
Yeah.
And it makes a whole lot of sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because those in the Quaker tradition focus on justice and radical inclusion and love and selflessness, and that fits him to a T.
Yeah.
So it makes perfect sense.
You know, he was one of those, growing up in Alabama, he wasn't mentioned in my school study. You know, again, we always got Martin, we got Rosa Parks, we got all those characters like that. But I didn't know about Byron until much later in life.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate his contributions, not only to the civil rights movement, but also to the gay movement, you know.
And that people are more and more aware of him.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And that's today with the Queer God Squad.
Before we go, I want to invite you to check out our performing arts series. Here is a taste of what's coming up in December at the Sunshine Cathedral Center for the Performing Arts.
On December the 6th, have I ever sounded more Arkansan? December! Anyway, on December the 6th, the Sunshine Cathedral Music Ministry presents its annual holiday concert. It's free, and it's a wonderful way to kick off the holiday season. So tell your friends about it and save the date, December 6th at 7 p.m. at Sunshine Cathedral.
The very next night, December 7th, brings Matthew Darren's annual Holiday Fantasia, always amazing, and this year it will again be co-hosted by Varla Jean Merman.
Then on Friday, December 12th, the Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida will be performing.
And the very next night, December 13th, the Girls Choir of South Florida will be giving their holiday concert. And the night after that, December 14th, it will be Broward Women's Chorale's turn to bring holiday joy in music.
On Friday, December 19th, we'll be charmed by Treble in Paradise. Their concert is titled Treble and Tidings, an a cappella holiday.
And on Saturday, December 20th, Anthony Nuzade will be performing with a community choir.
In addition to these amazing performances, all of which can offer an add-on Cathedral Pub experience for purchase, allow me to invite you to Sunshine Cathedral's Christmas Eve services at 7 p.m. or 9 p.m. December 24th.
Please like and share this episode on your social media and look for Sunshine Cathedral on Facebook or Instagram.
You can also like our individual pages on Facebook. Remember to visit sunshinecathedral.org frequently. There you will find Bishop Talk, where Bishop Durrell and I interview queer religious leaders and activists and scholars.
Thank you for joining the Queer God Squad today. We are here daily at 3 p.m. to have some fun and to discuss what our LGBTQ community is talking about.
Sunshine Cathedral is the world's leading progressive queer church. Progressive, queer, and God are words that naturally should go together. Remember that we are all in this together. And also remember, you are God's miracle, not God's mistake. Until next time, we are the Queer God Squad.